Man, what a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, building enterprise, move supersize. Y'all let shit like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up.
And we are live. This is the first official Canna Kuyas podcast episode number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I am your host, Erick Esteban, and my co-host.
My name is Mitch Narito. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in.
So in this podcast, we are going to be talking about, obviously, cannabis culture, but as it relates to the Filipino and Filipino American, mostly because of a quote that I believe he was the Surgeon General at the time, and he was arguing for the criminalization of marijuana, and it was Roger Anslinger. Anslinger? I can never fucking say his name. I don't even want to put his name to my... I'd rather mispronounce his name the way they mispronounce our names normally. But anyway, I digress. Assholelinger. There you go. Assholelinger. He said, basically, that cannabis was the thing that white women, that Negroes, Latinos, and Filipinos and entertainers used to steal white women away from other white men. I mean, it's always been a whole thing where they've always been jealous of how sexy we are.
I don't think we needed weed to do any of that.
I know. I don't think we needed weed to do any of that, because you know who my wife is white.
My wife is half.
And she doesn't smoke weed. So still pull the Caucasian lady with no cannabis.
That's just his natural charms, folks.
In fact, I think she stays with me in spite of the cannabis.
She's like, his Filipino side outweighs his weed smoking.
Now he's growing weed in the house, which is really the thing that kind of inspired this podcast.
Okay.
Is starting to grow it in the house, and starting... You know, after I filmed my first special, shout out Miscellaneous Brown, shout out to 4x3 Productions. I'm a stand-up comedian. Normally, if you don't know, I think if you're tuning into this, you probably know who I am. But if not, I did a comedy special, my first full-length comedy special, Miscellaneous Brown, at the beginning of the year last year. And then the rest of the year was kind of wait till it finishes. Mm-hmm. And
it's a big accomplishment, though.
It is, and I'm proud of myself. I'm excited. I'm proud of the product that it came out. But in that waiting period, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself, and I also didn't have a lot of money coming in, and dispensaries don't like
it's not free.
It's not free.
It's not free.
And so I just decided. I was like, what do I spend a lot of? The majority of the money that comes in. You know, the disposable money all goes to cannabis.
Mm-hmm. So you wanted to work the system and make your own, stop paying into somebody else's pocket.
That, and also that quote that I mentioned in the beginning. You know, they used Filipinos specifically, and entertainers. I'm a Filipino entertainer, so it's like two things, but they used us specifically to demonize it.
Yeah, and
so why would I now? Give that. I mean, it's the same. The people that set up the rules. I don't want to give them my money anymore.
Yeah,
I wanna grow it for myself, because it's a plant.
Yeah,
it's a plant. And that's kind of like, it's been demonized for so long, and even in our culture, it's been like like I remember my dad smelled it in my room, and he's like, "What is that, cocaine?" And I'm like, no, I don't know what that is, Dad. I don't know what that smell is.
I feel that. I'm almost 40. I have not told my mom that I smoke weed. She probably knows, but I have never told her outright.
See, she'll probably know if she listens to this podcast.
If she could figure out how to listen to the podcast.
Well, that's true. Yeah. How do you do this podcast thing?
What's a bobcat?
What is a bobcat?
You have bobcats?
Yeah, you have a dog in your house?
That's going to get eaten.
No. No, I told my parents, because I told my parents when I turned 40, and because it was a trip. I mean, I'm turning 40 in my house, right? And I'm going to the back alley behind my house, outside my garage, to go smoke a joint before my parents, so my parents don't. I'm like, oh my God, I am not a child. This is my house. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna tell him. And so I told my dad, and then he was like, I smoked cigarettes when I was 8 years old. And I was like, oh shit. He's like, that's very, very worse. And if it's good for you, it relaxes you, go do whatever the hell you want. You're already 40 years old. And that's my dad said.
Yeah. That's a trip, because like my grandpa, he started smoking when he was in grade school.
That's what I'm saying. Like they like there was like a bottle and then a cigarette in the Philippines.
And then he rocked it till the wheels fell off. The reason that he died was from complications from smoking, but it was the withdrawal, because he had to stop. You know?
Yeah.
And it was the withdrawal that got him.
My dad quit when he was in his 30s. So he's quit for a long time.
He's reversed some of the damage.
But part of it is also like, I want him to smoke a joint with me now, but he's scared to smoke because he knows he'll want to smoke a cigarette again if he smokes. He's got that, I'm sure that oral fix. I got that oral fixation. I'm just glad I don't have it with cigarettes. I just have it with joints, which is maybe it's better. No, but so then I told my mom, right? And I was scared with my mom because my mom's like Nancy Reagan. She was like straight up like, say no to drugs. If you try it one time, you might die. You're going to overdose. Like everything. Like every nightmare story that she heard. Because she was the director of student health for the Board of Education in Chicago. Oh. She was a big deal. But she heard all the horror stories with different drugs and kids overdosing and kids coming to school high or whatever else. So she totally against drugs.
For the record, you cannot overdose on marijuana.
You can't. It's physically impossible. There is not a documented case of overdose of the THC and or CBD or any cannabinoids. Because guess what, guys? We're going to go over it on this podcast. Your body makes cannabinoids by itself because you have an endocannabinoid system. Every animal with a spine on this earth has an endocannabinoid system.
You saying that right?
Yes, endocannabinoid. That's why it's hard for me to say.
It's not cannabinoid?
No, it's cannabinoid. Cannabinoid system.
Yabba dabba do.
Yes, but anyway, we'll get into the endocannabinoids, bro. You will for the Filipinos that work in the medical area and y'all don't know about the endocannabinoid system. Y'all better tune into the Canna Kuyas. But I digress. So I'm telling my mom that I smoke weed, right? And you know the first thing she said to me?
What?
Can you get me some?
She wanted you to hook her up?
Because my mom's a cancer survivor.
Oh.
She's had breast cancer now 2 times. And, chemo's that's rough.
Yeah.
And you don't, appetite, hard to sleep, different headaches, all these different things. And my mom's edibles every day now.
No.
So, that's the thing. Like, that's part of why, again, that's another, my whole story with my mom is another reason why I want to have this podcast. Because I know there's another Filipino American out there who's been partaking of cannabis and it helps them every day. And they don't want to tell their parents, but at the end of the day, the way it helps you, guess what? Your chemical and body makeup is probably the same as your parents because y'all are the same. And so it probably will help them.
I feel like there are like Filipino families out there where like, like the son or daughter is like in one room getting high, and then like the parents are in another room getting high, and they're scared to tell each other because they don't want to.
Oh my God, I'm sure, I'm sure, and then but either way, like to talk about it, to destigmatize it, and to just make it. This is a plant that people have been using for thousands of years. And my journey from learning how to grow it and from seed and now I've had 2 different harvests and I've been able to smoke each one of my harvests, and I'll tell you, man, like I've been smoking weed since I was 19, and we'll go into the first time I smoked weed if you want to tell that story.
We'll go into
we
your
can
history
do all that stuff, but I have never tasted weed so good or felt so high from smoking weed than from the weed that I grew myself.
Nice.
It feels different. You know what I'm saying? It feels you feel more connected with it. I listened to this one podcast about this lady who makes hash, and when you roll the hash with your hands, and it's like the hash ball in your hands, and you she said you feel the energy of the plant. And I know that sounds really hippy dippy and spiritual, whatever else, but it's real, man. I really feel it. Like, I grew these plants from when they were seeds until they were ready to harvest and die, because they're only one season. Mm-hmm. That's what cannabis plants are. They grow for one season, they flower, and then they die.
They're like my perennials?
They're not. The perennials are perennial. They come back. That's what perennial means. It goes annually, so it comes back.
Oh.
So when you see, you learn something already. No, but I've been into this, the botany and just the science of plants has been so interesting to me, and I feel like in a lot of ways therapeutic. Because I was coming to it's the end of something. I worked for 8 years in stand-up to get a special. Mm-hmm. And that special turned out great, got a standing ovation, the cut of it, the edit, everything's great. By the way, watch it on YouTube, Miscellaneous Brown. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the end of something, and now I'm trying to start something new.
So did you have any prior knowledge about growing before you started? Or did you... I've tried
2 or 3 different times to grow my own cannabis.
So it's all self-taught. No one actually showed you how to set up stuff or do anything like that. You pretty much did your research on the internet and you picked up things along the way.
Yeah, but I mean, I have to shout out the people that I watch, like Mr. Grow It. I read his book, and the guys from the Stash and the Green Table podcast, and there's so many different podcasts and outlets now. I think part of the reason why I feel like I've been successful in growing is a confluence of events, because the technology is affordable. You can buy a grow light on Amazon. You can get set up for less than $500, and you can buy your own stuff and set it up in your closet. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a plethora. You have YouTube University, where basically you can just Google whatever it is you want to learn, and somebody made a video of what it is, and a step-by-step of how to do stuff, or at least a step-by-step of how they do it, and then you can interpret that and then figure out how you want to do it, right?
Okay. All right, before we get too deep into that, just for people that may be just stumbling upon this podcast and don't know anything about us, why don't you give a little history about yourself and then tell us about how you got involved with marijuana? What was your first time and your first experience and stuff like that?
I'm a stand-up comedian and actor. Did my first professional play in 1997, so I've been doing it for a minute. Started doing stand-up when I was 40. It's almost like a midlife crisis. But it turned out to be the thing that my whole career was leading up to. So, and then, like I said, I just did my special. And my first time with cannabis, I was sophomore in college.
Okay.
So I was 19, probably 19. And I had a crush on this girl, Doris, and she worked at the Gap. and
you wanted to fall into the Gap, I guess.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to fall into her Gap. You're right. I did. Mm-hmm. I did. But she was like, would you like to go out to dinner with the whole Gap crew? Her whole, her work crew, clique was having a outing of dinner, and they were all going to go out to dinner at this restaurant. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah, I'll come with you. I'll be your date for that work dinner, right? She's like, can you just go pick up my friend? I'm like, what? And is her friend Manny. I was like, oh, no, is it a dude? Do you want me to pick up a dude? Oh, no. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to go pick up Manny, and then I'm going to go pick her up, right? And then we're going to go to this place. So I get to Manny's place, and knock on the door, and it is this Mira! Hello, my name is Manny. How are you doing today? This is my name, Manny. How are you? Okay, let's go. And like he was this so flamboyantly gay Latino guy. And so I'm just sitting in his house, and he's like putting on a scarf or some shit. I don't remember. And he's like, hey, would you like to smoke some weed? And I was like, wait, I've never smoked weed, but I listened to Snoop Dogg a lot, so I would really like to try it. And I was like, because I'd never, because I didn't have a source to get it to that point. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know who to go or who to call or whatever else, and I was scared to, get arrested or whatever, because this is the 90s. This is not like...
Yeah, it was not legal back then.
And this is Chicago, mind you. This isn't Cali. This is Chicago in the Midwest. So if you had weed on you, you was going to go to jail.
Okay.
A different time. But he was like, so open about it. He was like, mira, you want to smoke some weed? And he rolled this joint, and we smoked this joint. I remember saying, I don't feel anything, bro. I don't feel anything. Mira, you will feel it. You will feel it. And then we got to the restaurant, and I got to Doris, and I don't remember being like stoned or anything.
Yeah.
But all I remember was like, yo, I gotta get this burrito. Let's eat. I gotta eat.
You had the munchies.
So fucking hungry. I need to eat. And so we went to this place. It was called Marlon's. And outside, they had like this little neon sign that said burritos as big as your head.
Okay.
And they were like big ass burritos. And I had the munchies so bad that as soon as my food came, I didn't talk really because I was stoned.
Yeah.
So I was just like kind of chilled. Just like, I'm stoned and I'm feeling it. I'm starting to feel it. And then as soon as the food came, I just kept eating and just eating. I didn't talk to nobody. Didn't talk to Doris. Didn't talk to Manny. Didn't talk to him. And then I go, and I waved the waiter down, and I go, let me get another one of these. And I ordered 2 huge ass steak burritos.
So wait, you ate 2 or 3?
2.
2. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then
and Doris never asked me out again to another dinner because I was that weird
antisocial dude just eating.
Antisocial dude eating fucking chomping down on burritos. And then I asked Manny where he got his weed from. And I think that wasn't the first place I bought weed from. I think the first place was I bought weed from a fellow actor at a play. Mm. But I'm trying to remember. Now it's starting to get fuzzy. I can't remember where I bought my weed. Oh, no, I remember. I called a homie who said he could get me weed. Yeah. And he gave me a number to a guy who I would call. And then I called that guy, and he said, go to this address. And then I went to one address, and then that address, I knocked on that door, and then they were like, go 2 doors down to the next house and go up 2 flights of stairs. And I'm like, the fuck?
Was it in a sketchy area?
Yeah, it was in kind of a sketchier area in Chicago on the west side. And then I knocked on the door, and there was this beautiful, like, it was this like light-skinned, beautiful black girl with dreads. And then she was like, $50. And I gave her $50, and she handed me a bag of weed. And then I walked away. And that was because it was like that. It was, back in the day, you had to be on the down low.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a trip.
So
that was probably one of the first times. The first time I can remember buying weed.
So when you started smoking, were you smoking regularly, or was it like you tried it a couple times?
No, it was like whenever you could get it.
So like after Manny, it was just like, let me get weed.
Yeah,
as much as possible.
Like I think that's why I'm almost positive. The first time that I got weed from him. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yo, can I get some more weed? Because I like it. And then he got me some, and then I didn't really want to deal with him too much anymore, and because I think he wanted to fuck. Just being
Get
real.
over yourself.
No, because it was like, it just got to, because if you've ever been in a situation where a man is flirting with you, you can feel that shit. You could be like, oh man, this dude's trying to do something.
Okay.
It was weird. It was a weird situation.
Okay.
And I'm a handsome dude. I'm not going to sell myself short.
Okay.
No, but I remember I think I got it from him the first time that I wanted more. And then he was like, and then I think that Manny was the guy who gave me the number because that was his connect. And then that was the apartment to the 2 doors down and to the 2 flights up. So, and I think I did that like 2 or 3 times.
So what was it about marijuana that enticed you so much? What attracted to what was the attraction? Was it like, did you just like feeling like mellow, or did it do anything else for you? Like, what specifically were you like, I like this feeling, I want more of it?
I've said this probably since I started smoking really, really regularly, because it's when you do something a lot, you can kind of see what it does to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't really until I got to Cali that I really realized the benefit of it and why I sought it out so ferociously in Chicago. Okay. Even to the point where I risked getting arrested or whatever else. I was diagnosed with ADHD like everybody else, but like everybody else is talking about how they got ADHD. But I mean, I was diagnosed with it from my mom, who was in the student, medical, whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that shit is now, but what I'm saying, like, yeah, I was diagnosed with that, but my mom didn't want to put me on at the time, which was Ritalin.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you break down what Ritalin is, that is basically
meth.
Yeah. So I didn't want to go, my mom didn't want to put me on that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I never had anything to regulate my ADHD. So my brain, like there were times in like my temper is hard. It was hard to regulate when I was a kid, but also like just my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like my thoughts there were so many thoughts going on in my brain that I couldn't even grasp onto one of them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't have any, there was no focus.
Yeah. It's like one thought would just push out another, and then like there was never any room to...
And not even that. Almost like...
Just overload?
It's almost hard to remember how my brain worked back then, because I've been smoking weed for so long now. But they talk about how it regulates your mood, the endocannabinoid system. It regulates your mood, it regulates your blood pressure, it regulates your heart rate, it regulates the endorphins that are released in your brain that make you feel good or make you feel happiness or all these different emotions, right? There's a lot of different things that cannabis in your system scientifically and chemically does.
Okay.
But for me specifically, all those thoughts and things racing in my brain, it slows down my brain just enough to where I can grab those thoughts and focus on one and maybe write it down. You know what I'm saying? Like it allows me to regulate my brain.
All right. So on the other side, you've mentioned these various benefits that have come about from you smoking. Has there been any negative impacts for you, or anything not great about marijuana?
I've been thinking about this a lot, as far as like, because it's basically become my life now.
Okay.
Especially since I've been growing, and I'm checking them every day and waking up early in the morning, and all this stuff. It's basically taken over a lot of my life, to the point where now I'm trying to make sure that I don't neglect the other facets of my life. So it's a big part. But I also try to think about this question. And the one drawback for me, like right in front of me, would have been financially. It's expensive.
Okay.
And when I'm close to running out of it and I don't have money, it's scary for me to think
that you won't have it.
That I won't have it.
I have friends that feel the same way, but it comes to I think it is Ritalin, or what's the other one?
There's as far as ADD.
Yeah, there's another drug. There's one where it's like it helps people focus. Is it Ritalin?
Well, Ritalin was what they prescribed back in the day for kids who they were hyper. That was the term they used. They were hyper kids, or they had attention deficit disorder. But that's a fairly new term in the lexicon, and maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, where I'm talking about this was happening in the 80s when I was a kid.
No, because I have friends who the feeling that you have when you're about to run out, they have that with other prescription drugs. Because there's one drug where, and if anyone out there knows, you guys can
please hit us up. Yeah, tell us what's up.
Like I could have sworn it was Ritalin, but I know a lot of people take it to focus, but like for certain drugs, like they won't prescribe you extra, or if you lose any, they won't give you another until a certain date, right? So like, my friend, he kind of panics because you won't know if you'll be able to get that drug until the day of. And then if you go to a place and they don't have it, then you have to wait. And, you know, like in terms of like brain chemistry, like that doesn't work for him. So what he's had to do is occasionally he'll hit up like, you know, someone that's not a regular pharmacist, and then he'll stock up. And then that way, like if his actual prescription runs out and the drug is not available, he can manage, you know? So I think a lot of people experience what you're feeling in terms of like different substances and different drugs. But
that in that way, that thought, that thought process makes me feel negatively towards myself and my dependency on it sometimes. But then part of me is like, every human has a crutch, whatever the crutch is. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody got something that they do outside of themselves, and it's not just drugs. To me, I feel like there's other things that help people to cope with the thoughts in their brain, or whatever mental disabilities or whatever maladies they might be going through in their life. Everybody has crutches.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's kind of how I look at it. I'm like, okay, if my only real crutch is coffee and cannabis, those are the only two things in if you want to talk about substances that I need every day. Okay, cool. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Do you also think that like that guilt or those negative feelings that you get, is that a result of your upbringing? Because
hell yeah. That's all programming. That's all just say no programming. You're doing bad things. You're a bad druggie. Or it was the programming from all of us for all the time that this plant and drugs that help human beings like mushrooms and all these other things that now everybody's talking about. I'm microdosing this now, and I'm doing this. Everybody's microdosing marijuana now. Everybody's microdosing cannabis. Everybody's microdosing mushroom, psilocybin, and all these other things now, because we're realizing what. That these pharmacological and these all these different pills we're putting in our body are pills for other pills. You know, you take a pill and then you feel the side effects of that pill. And now you got to take another pill to do this other pill, and then all the time you're just buying these pills. And then in the case of your homie, now you're dependent on the pharmacist or the person that's delegating out those pills for you. I can't do that. But that's America, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the opioid crisis. That's everybody. They got a pill for everything. You know, the pharmaceutical company has got a pill for everything. And that's another reason why I grow my own. Because I don't want to feel that feeling anymore. And I also don't want to spend that. I don't want to give, these big out-of-state operator companies and these big corporations now that have bought up all the small weed companies. When I first started smoking weed, I always said to myself, one day this plant is going to be legal again because the human race is going to wise up and realize the benefit of this plant. And I feel like the past 10, 15 years, when you think about all the different, how many states now have some type of medical marijuana? 41 states, I think it is now, something like that, or 20 and 26 states have a recreational. So it's coming. Legalization is coming. But with legalization comes commoditization. Yeah,
commodification,
commoditization, however the fuck you say that shit. But it becomes a commodity.
Yeah.
But also it becomes very corporate.
Yeah.
And we all know what the tobacco companies did to tobacco, because tobacco is a plant too.
Yeah.
But they cut corners. They added additives to make the product last longer and whatever else they felt they more stretch the nicotine or whatever other chemical things that they enhance these cigarettes to make them into cancer sticks. And I know that eventually that's unfortunately what could happen to the cannabis industry, or parts of it at least. And that's why, again, another reason to grow your own.
Before you started growing your own, give me a ballpark figure. How much were you spending?
I don't even want to tell
weekly,
you.
monthly?
Homie, I don't want to say that shit online. I don't want to put that number out there. Because my wife will probably end up listening to this one day and she will be like, the fuck?
So you were spending a significant amount?
Yes.
Okay.
The majority of my income was spent on cannabis. We'll say it like that.
So after the family and the kids, it was...
No, before.
Before? Okay.
Yeah. Because... this is what I'll say. The family and the kids will only work if my brain works with them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if I'm not in the right head...
it's not a good time for anybody else?
I'm stressed out and quick to anger and a lot of different things. Like, it definitely affects my mood, and it makes me so... I am so stressed out. Like, I get stressed out to a point where, well, and I can't even really remember a time recently that because I've had enough money to buy, but now I'm growing my own, so I'm not running out anytime soon. But it's a nerve-wracking thing because the amount of help it gives me in my brain, the amount of help that it gives me with everything, my interactions. I remember saying this in a party. I was like, bro, if I wasn't stoned right now, you probably wouldn't like me very much. Because I know myself enough. I'm gonna be turning 50 this year, and I know what helps me to interact with everyone. In fact, we probably should take a smoke break soon too.
Soon. So in terms of this podcast, like, You've mentioned a couple people, but like, who is this podcast for? Like, who do you want this podcast to reach and why?
I want this first to reach the Phil-Am or the stoner who smokes every day and has that same stressful feeling. I'm about to run out of weed and I'm broke. What the fuck do I do? And I want them to realize that if you're smoking like that every day, you will gain even that much more connection to this plant if you grow your own. And you will end up saving a lot of money. So that's it. There's a podcaster named Jordan River who started Growcast, and Growcast is basically, that's like one of my... I listened to some of them episodes 2 and 3 times, like, over and over again, because of all the knowledge that they talk about and how they teach you how to grow this plant. Now, am I going to go into it like that here? Maybe, if the audience, if that's what the audience wants, because we've inspired that many people to grow and they want that information, I'd love this to be a place where we can, put all the worlds together, because I mean, cannabis is going to be a $1 billion industry, billions and billions. It was $22 billion last year globally, and it's projected to be $25 billion this year. So that's $2 extra billion. I don't need all of that $2 extra billion, but if I can get a little percentage of that, helping people learn how to grow and maybe guiding them to the right, the stuff that I use to grow my stuff, the nutrients, all the different things, I think that would be a great, that's who I want to, people who want to learn how to grow, but also, want to save money on their weed because they smoke weed a lot. So, people want to learn about Filipinos who smoke weed, because that's what we both are.
Yeah, we're out here. Like, there are a lot of Filipinos that smoke weed, but a lot of them will not tell you outright.
Right. And that's part of it. Let's destigmatize this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it helps you. Because I know there's some professional Filipinos, like doctors, lawyers, accountants.
Oh, yeah.
I know you because I've smoked with y'all before. But let's destigmatize it. But not only that, like I said, when I told my parents, my mom's,
Did that feel like a weight off your shoulders when you told them? Oh, my
God, dude.
How long were you like...
Can you imagine now? Like, I don't have to go to cousin walks on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm just going to go outside. I'll be right back. And they don't say shit. Can you imagine that? Like, it's a different... I feel more like an adult. I feel most like an adult. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not hiding shit from anybody.
Yeah, you're not trying to just like hit a vape in the closet or eat some edibles.
No, that said, my mother-in-law, who is very against, she was basically the same mindset as my mom, as far as Nancy Reagan, just say no type of mindset. She doesn't know. Mm. But I talked to my wife about it, and she's like, if you post it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, my mom looks at that stuff, so she's gonna know. She's gonna know. So I'm just gonna assume I'll respect her enough because I know how she feels about it. I'm not gonna talk about it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be. I feel it's the same type of thing. I feel like I have more of a freedom with it now. And man, it's a plant. We need to chill out. You know what I'm saying? That's the main goal of this shit. Is to realize that this is a plant that people have been using for thousands of years. And humans have been benefiting from. Chinese emperors were buried with it. Egyptian pharaohs were, this plant, Indians, American Indians, every culture has used this. Every culture that has been able to cultivate this plant has used the plant for so many different benefits. Yeah. And why not us? We can do it too. And I'm sure there are some Filipinos who are listening to this podcast who have profited and are profiting from the cannabis industry. So I just want to, grow that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because I know that here in Los Angeles, so for those of you guys that don't know, I grew up here in Los Angeles, and I've seen the evolution of the weed game.
You saw it. I mean, you grew up with it, basically. Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a later episode, but
you're gonna hear a lot from Mitch, because Mitch got some stories for you about some different stuff that's part of it, man. Like, Mitch and I share a great friendship, and we share weed every time we hang out. I mean, that's part of our friendship is cannabis, and I think that's part of why I wanted you to be. There's only one other person I wanted to co-host this podcast with me. That's you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But what was I saying again?
You were about to tell your history with weed because you grew up in LA and you.
Oh no, yeah, I've seen how it's evolved. Like from having to find like a random guy like you did to it becoming.
I'm still in love with that girl, by the way.
Doris.
No, that girl, the girl that.
Oh, the one that changed your life forever.
That light-skinned black girl that I bought weed from 3 times. I don't even know her name.
But yeah, from getting it in that form versus like now where everything's like a boutique and all of that, like
I even remember I'm nostalgic for the time when I was here in Cali and I first got my license, and you could go to the the small ass head shops, the small cannabis dispensaries, and you could open a jar and you could smell it, and you could all these different things, and now it's all just prepackaged.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I know that there were a bunch of Filipinos. I had cousins and whatnot, like friends of cousins and all sorts of stuff. Like, they would set up shop for just a couple months because they knew that the shop would get closed down. They knew it was going to get closed down, so it was a cash grab. So they'd set up a shop, sell weed for as long as they could, and then pull out. And then they made a lot of money doing that. It was like their version of crypto back in the day.
When I hear about those stories from like even just the 2000s, right? Like 2005, 2000, like through 2012, I guess, with the Prop 215 days, where you could grow your own and bring a backpack full of weed into the dispensary, and if they liked your shit, you'd walk out with a backpack full of cash. Yep. I mean, could you imagine? Oh, Lord. Oh, if that was your job, I mean, and that would be a perfect cash grab, man.
I have stories like, and
hopefully we can get some of those people to talk about it now.
Yeah, like if they're still in the game,
even if they're not in the game, some of them old school stories. I mean, people got to realize how lucky they are to be going into an Apple store to buy their weed. I'm just being real.
No, one of my connects, he used to be a guy I knew from back in the day, right? And somehow through the grapevine, he found out like I smoked weed, and then he was just like, "Hey, if you ever need a hookup, I got you. I'll take care of you," right? So this guy would roll up. He had a Vespa, right? He had a Vespa, and he would roll up to where I was living, and he would have layers of clothing on. Layers. Like, I mean, like, not like, you know that episode of Friends where freaking...
When Joey walked in with all of Chandra's clothes on?
Yeah, no, he would be dressed like that, right? And I'd be like, what's the deal? You know, like, what are you doing that for? And he'd be like, well, if I ever got to run from the cops, they're going to see me wearing a trench coat. But if I duck into somewhere, I'm going to take off different layers and come out in a different outfit. So if they're looking, if they're looking for a guy in a black trench coat and I come out wearing a rainbow sweater, that's not who they're looking for.
Exactly. Dude is a genius.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. Genius,
but also his laundry bill had to be fucking crazy.
But like it just used to trip me out because like he would like
he wear like 3 or 4 jackets.
It was ridiculous amount. Like he would come, right? He'd take off his layers, and like underneath the bottom layer would be his backpack, right? He'd have his backpack, and it would be full of his goods, right?
Oh, okay. I could see why you would do that.
No, I like after he explained it to me, I was like, oh damn.
I could see that. I mean, especially if he's on a Vespa.
Yeah.
It's a freaking I was thinking to be honest, because I know how sometimes at night it gets cold in Cali, and I would. You know,
we just bundling up on a Vespa, so it doesn't
because you riding on a Vespa, homie. That wind will get cold on you. You're getting licked by the dogs.
I know, it's sweetie. But yeah, like, so yeah, this is gonna be the Canna Kuyas podcast.
Now I'm picturing this multi-coated motherfucker driving down a Vespa with a backpack full of weed.
Nah, if you see one and just like, oh, that's a big.
Also,
dude.
The layers probably would have maybe not. You know, if it got stopped, the smell wouldn't have been as bad, maybe.
Yeah, no, it would be stuff like that. You know, like it was just a way for him to like, you know, like if
you see how lucky you all are now that you can walk into an Apple store and pick out whatever vaporizer you want. It's a crazy different.
You don't even have to walk in. Like you could just order it. You know, like you could just.
You could do that monthly. Well, that's
not even monthly, man. Like there are services out there. They will come to you.
Ease.
Yeah.
Shout out Ease. We looking for sponsors, so Ease, you want to sponsor us? I'm sure you could sponsor us. We'd be fine to just get paid in kind.
But yeah, guys, this is the Canna Kuyas podcast. This is the stuff we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna wrap up this episode, and just go smoke right now.
Yeah, we should take a break and smoke.
Yeah, but
every Wednesday, Weedy Wednesday.
Weedy Wednesday? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Weedy Wednesday, but we'll make it Weedy Wednesday because every Wednesday we'll drop another episode. We'll have another one of these that you can listen to in the background as you it's your house.
as you water your garden.
As you trim your plants, you can listen to us bullshit. Sige!
Alright, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Hey, thanks for listening, guys.
Hope to hear you guys are enjoying what we're putting out there. And leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever.
And if you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a review because that's a big deal. The more reviews, the better the algorithm, the more we do. So please leave a review if you're listening to this on iTunes or on Spotify. Leave a review. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Peace out.
That's a home run. Yeah, get the up or leave the fucker Folgers. Little bitch, I made the beat and dropped the full verse. I just hit a steelo, I got dripped up. Package born and raised, bitch, I got dripped up. Y no se compara. Yo estoy con mi pana, se llama Trigger, fumando ganja. Estamos con Cali, fumando en Cali, yo sé que traen ganas. Ella me dice, papi, que terminamos la cama. Highest in the room, yeah, we get fucked up. You can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run.
Yeah, we got hits like Dati and Machado. Man, we know you're not a leader, cause all our moves you just follow, packing big bowls. You know we just scooped up that gelato, cause I smoke killer. My shirt iller, yo, ask our dealer, we the highest in the room. Just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my talk is lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I rarely rock designer.